Welcome back to TV5 News at 9, everyone. It is time now for Education Matters. Of course it does. We are here with Dr. Craig Douglas. Dr. D, thank you so much for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Blake. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great, and glad to be back with you on a Education Matters segment. So today we are talking about top issues in education for 2022. Dr. Douglas, as we start the new year, we are still facing kind of similar problems when it comes to the pandemic, but with things constantly changing, what issues will schools face as we approach another year with COVID?
Right. I thought with the calendar changing to the year 2022, it'd be time for us to take a look at forecasting the year ahead and even beyond. For this segment, I've researched an online publication out of Detroit called Chalkbeat. They interviewed many educational leaders, especially from an organization called Education Trust Midwest, also Michigan State University and others for this segment. So, number one, the COVID, the pandemic. How will a rebound look for our K-12 public schools in Michigan? Also our private schools as well. So the pandemic is nearing its second anniversary. Hard to believe, isn't it, Blake?
Oh, yeah.
And the future still looks a bit cloudy in terms of the rebound. How will students fare? How resilient will they be? How about the teachers and the other educators that work with them? How about their parents and the family situation? The learning losses are being reported frequently. So how can all this collectively help students close any achievement gaps that have happened due to the pandemic? Lots of questions related to the pandemic now and into the coming year and even beyond.
Dr. Douglas, with the pandemic, we've seen a lot of states receive COVID relief funding. So could that money be used to help Mid-Michigan schools, and in what ways do you think?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The funding certainly does help. There are additional costs associated with the pandemic. Early on, there was a lot of resources spent on acquiring software and doing online training for teachers who became almost overnight experts in how to deploy lessons via the internet and the web. Some in real time, some not in real time, stored up. Our teachers have pivoted on this and done a wonderful job, but there are probably more expenses related to any kind of shifts in instruction that may loom due to the pandemic and its after effects, perhaps extra sessions of school, whether it's in vacation time or during summer. It depends on the local district, its needs, its Board of Education and its administration, its faculty and staff, and what they want. But certainly the additional funding from COVID fund reliefs has been a plus. Moving beyond that, once that funding expires, it's a one-time or short-term fix. What will funding look like in the state of Michigan for our schools moving beyond the pandemic? That's a big question mark in my mind.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that we'll have to follow as well as we get closer to that point. So another issue that leaves schools struggling, of course, the ongoing staffing shortages. Some schools had to cancel classes because of it. So what will need to be done this year to help with those shortages, in your opinion?
It's a real head scratcher, Blake. I've seen scrolled messages where districts have actually put out for the parents certain bus runs that are canceled because of a shortage of bus drivers. So this is a very deep and complex challenge for our local schools. The schools that will cope with this probably the best will be those that can establish relationships with people waiting in the wings to enter the profession, to pitch into the help. And that sometimes it's volunteers, Blake, that step up and can help out. Not volunteering to drive bus necessarily, but certainly volunteering to help out in the hallways, the cafeterias, the libraries. I'm in one school in Auburn where they have a fleet of volunteers that come in a couple times a week to help out in their media center. It's very impressive and really helps fill the gap for staffing shortfalls that are literally everywhere. Long term, I think there needs to be some incentives to draw more young people into the profession. I know the State Board of Education recently addressed that and had a number of ideas. One I recall reading was some tuition reimbursement to help provide an incentive for young people to look at the education profession. Bottom line, it's a long time coming, and it's going to take a long time to repair the staffing shortages.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dr. Douglas, of course, with so much going on, people may forget we are now in an election year. So when it comes to education, that's a big spot for a lot of voters. What should people watch out for in the upcoming races?
Well, politics is definitely going to be on your airways and in our minds for the next, several months. And so education will be an issue put before the candidates for governor. Our current governor is running again, so as an incumbent, she will have to address how she sees education in the past 3-4 years and how she sees it moving ahead. And then the challengers, and there are plenty in the field. I've lost track, Blake. I think nearly a dozen have announced that they want to challenge her.
Yeah.
The challengers will have to put forth ideas in the area of education that are cost effective, creative, innovative, and capture the attention of voters.
Yeah, and especially voters who are parents with kids in school. Of course, they're going to be looking for a lot of solutions to the pandemic, too. Dr. Douglas, anything else that you would like to add before we go?
Just keep doing a great job, you and WNEM TV5 is doing and covering all these aspects of education. I really think 2022 is going to be a challenging year for educators, but I'm very hopeful there'll be a positive one for our students and our parents and our communities.
Yes, let's hope positive for all around. Dr. Douglas, thank you again for calling in. It is a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Thank you. Take care, Blake. Stay well.
I absolutely will. And if you want more information about today's topic, just check out the School Source page on our website, WNEM.com.